Well, um, hello everyone. How are you? I hope well. My name is Christian Fogesato. Currently, I'm PhD student in the business school at Unicinos University, important university in Rio Grande do Sul state. And I also member of EcoHubiX research group, an important group focused on innovation issues, several kinds of innovation. For instance, in the last few months, we have talking, for instance, in September, on business model innovation here at YouTube and Facebook, through informal conversation with some guests that we have invited. In October, we talk on innovation ecosystem and the importance of analyze the ecosystem in innovation field, business ecosystem, among others. And today, we will talk some things about the important approach on this topic, the theory of planned behavior. A theory useful for understand the intention to adopt something. This approach is important to analyze why people adoption or thinking adoption something, the intention really. Among several things we can analyze, giving as backdrop this theory, there is intention to adopt innovation. And to talk on this topic, we invited the professor João Augusto Rossi Borges from Federal University of Grande Dourados, Mato Grosso do Sul state, and also works in Wageningen University in the Netherlands. This professor is an important research on this topic, and despite he's young, have published in the last few years several papers on this topic. Well, first of all, Professor, thank you so much for accepting my invitation and welcome for this informal conversation, and please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. Thank you very much for your kind words. Well, my name is João Borges. I am a lecturer right now at Wageningen University, the Netherlands. I am also adjunct professor at Federal University of Grande Dourados, Brazil. I have been working in Dourados since I think 2015, and in the last year I have been working here in the Netherlands, where I also did my PhD. So as a briefly introduction of myself, I am a veterinarian. I cannot say that because people think that I'm still working as a veterinarian, but I'm not anymore. I'm a researcher now. And well, then I did my master in agribusiness, and then I did my PhD in business economics here in Wageningen University. And well, then I moved back to Brazil, where I got a permanent position, and now I have a temporary position here as a lecturer at Wageningen University. My research interests, I would say that there are two main research lines that I try to focus my research on. The first one is farmers' behavior. So, and anything related to farmers' behavior, and like their decisions to adopt some kind of innovations, or their decisions to adopt some management practices and so on. And also I look the other research line is on consumers' behavior, and this is related to their consumption patterns, what they want to consume in the future, and so forth. And well, I based my research mostly on the theory of planned behavior, but I'm trying to move a bit also to incorporate some behavioral economics insight on my research. So that's a basic introduction, Christian. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to talk about this theory.
Good. For all people that are watching us at YouTube, if you have some question, please write it in the chat, okay? Well, this informal conversation will be some questions. Professor João will answer them. First of all, again, I'd like to thank you for this invitation. I know you have a hard work here in the Netherlands and making some things there and in Grande Dourados University. Well, I made some questions, and my first question on this topic is, I would like to know what does the term innovation means in our studies using this approach?
Okay. Yes. Well, innovation in my studies is not related only to some technical aspects or something like that. Innovation means mainly when I work with farmers, something that people or like government or other institutions want them to adopt, but they have not adopted yet. So imagine that a cooperative wants the farmer to adopt something like something to improve. They are milk farmers, and the cooperative wants them to adopt something to improve the quality of the milk that they deliver to the cooperative. Well, the cooperative wants them to adopt, and I call this an innovation because it's not adopted yet, and and it has an impact on, let's say, economic or environmental or social impact on the farm. So as an examples, I can give an example. During my PhD, what I conducted research was on adoption of innovations at farm level. And I worked with cattle farmers in Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. And the innovation that I looked was improved natural grassland. And improved natural grassland is an innovation that basically farmers are expected to either use a fertilizer on their fields, or to use some exotic species to improve the quality of the pasture. So this innovation was widely available for farmers. It has a good, it has an expected good impact on the economic performance of the farm, and also in the environmental performance of the farm. But despite all these advantages, this innovation was not adopted in the region. So I conducted research to understand the intention of the farmers to adopt this innovation, and what was driving or driven, what exactly was impacting on their intentions to adopt that. I conduct research similar with farmers that wants to adopt some innovations that improve animal welfare, for instance, at farm level. And well, that's basically how I see innovation in my studies.
Okay. Does several things you can consider as innovation things in this approach of our studies? For instance, technological innovations are a kind of innovation, but there are, for instance, conservation practice, agricultural conservation practice also can be considered as innovation because it is a new thing.
Yeah.
If the farmer adopt in your farm, a new thing is an innovation, I can say. I think it's correct, okay?
Yeah, that's I agree with you, Christian. It's like something that is not adopted yet, and people actually expected them to adopt. So yeah, it's perhaps not very well defined what innovation means, but basically that's how I see my studies. So it's something that people want or expected the farms to adopt, but they have not adopted yet. So indeed include some conservation practices, and this conservation practice sometimes governments expected the farmers to adopt, but they have not adopted yet. So in this sense, I would say that I consider them innovation as well.
Okay. Well, now I'd like you to talk some things about the approach that you have used in the last few years, the theory of planned behavior. I read several papers where you are the first author, and I think you are a prominent researcher on this topic. Please talk some things about how is or what is this approach.
Okay, well, Christian, I'm not this kind of prominent in the field. There are very good researchers in this field, but thanks for your word. And usually I say that, well, it doesn't really matter. If you look to my CV, you say, okay, he has a lot of publications in good journals, but this doesn't say too much about me. I mean, that's just say what I have achieved, but I don't see myself as someone like this. I see myself as someone who has a passion for science in general, and that's how I see myself. I don't see myself like a prominent in the field. But thank you. But let's first start what the theory of planet behavior is. Well, the theory of planet behavior is a theory that was developed to understand and predict future behavior. It's not specific about innovations. It's not specific about any technique. It's just to predict and explain behavior of people, future behavior of people. For instance, if you want to predict smoking behavior in the future, you can apply the theory of planned behavior. If you want to understand future intention of people to do exercises, well, you can predict or you can use the theory of planned behavior. If you want to apply the theory of planned behavior to predict how people will behave in the hospital, for instance, if they are going to use some practices to prevent something bad to happen, you can use the theory of planned behavior. So it's a theory that can be adjusted to any behavior that people plan to do. This is important to say. This is not, a theory cannot be applied for something that you have not planned to do. So for instance, I have not planned to go to the restaurant today. Well, then you cannot apply the theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior is for something that people plan to do. And this is, general theory that can be applied everywhere as long as the behavior is under some kind of conscious thinking. And the theory was developed first by Fishbein and Ising. I think 2017 was, 1965, I think, was their first books. But they became very famous in 1991 when they published a paper, the theory of planned behavior. And this paper was published in 1991, I would say that is one of the most cited papers ever in social sciences. Then I can show later on the number of citations I have here in my presentation. And then this theory was, people started to using this theory to predict a lot of things regarding future behavior. And this theory basically predicts that the behavior is best predicted by the intention of people to do something. So if you are working, for instance, with adoption of innovation, the adoption itself is the behavior, and the intention to adopt is the best predictor of adoption behavior. And then the intention is influenced by three different constructs, let's say, and these constructs are called attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavior control. And these three constructs are influenced by beliefs people hold about the behavior itself. Basically, that's the structure of the theory. I can show later on a figure on this, and you will see how these things or how these constructs are related to themselves. But yeah, general, I would say that the theory of planned behavior is one of the most used theories to understand people's behavior in any kind of domain.
Great, great. While you are talking on this theory and the intention, I'd like to know how I can define a future behavior. For instance, future behavior I can analyze it by a month, a year, 5 years. How I can define what time I consider as a future behavior.
Okay. Well, this depends on the behavior that you are studying. So, for instance, if you are studying, if people want to go to the gym, for instance, to do some exercises, then you can define, well, I want to understand if they will do this for the next month, right? And then your behavior is, I want to understand the behavior of people going at least 3 times to the gym in the next year or in the next month, right? So, but if you are working with farmers, for instance, and you want to understand if they want, for instance, to adopt a new machinery in their farm, well, it doesn't make too much sense to say in the next month, because the decisions of farmers are not usually made month by month. So farmers actually made long-term decisions. So if I'm working with farmers, imagine that I want to understand the adoption behavior about tractors. So I would ask farmers, well, what's your intention to adopt or to buy a new tractor in the next 3 years, for instance? Because then that's the time frame that makes sense for this kind of decisions. So the time frame is really related to the behavior under your study. But it's extremely important that when you ask people about this, you give a time frame for them. You cannot say, well, you know, do you have the intention to smoke? Then I can say when. Right, because, well, perhaps in the future, if you ask me if I want to smoke tomorrow, I will say no. If you want to say and next month, I will say no. So you have to give a time frame for them, and this is something that usually I would say that people do not really consider this on their research, and this has a huge impact then on the results. So it's extremely important that you define your behavior very well in terms of time, but also in terms of action and context. So you need to be very careful when you define your behavior.
Okay, and thus there is a variability regarding how I can measure future behavior. Okay, Well, I would like to know now, what is your opinion regarding analyzing the importance of using this theory in adoption of innovation? Therefore, why I need to use it, or how it is useful to use this approach in the field of innovation?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If you are going to use the theory of planned behavior, I would say that there are two mainly objectives. The first one is to predict behavior. So you want to predict how people will behave in the future. So you want to understand why some people will adopt an innovation, right? So there is an innovation in the market, and you want to understand if people want to adopt this. Well, then the theory of planned behavior fits this behavior very well. But the problem with the theory of planned behavior, it's not a problem, it's a challenge that you are going to face, is because sometimes people only collect information about the intention of people to adopt the innovation, and they do not collect the behavior itself. So imagine that an innovation is available for I don't know, business, some business market, and you want to understand why these businessmen want to adopt that. And then you are going to interview them, you are going to apply a survey with them, and you are going to ask them about their intention. But you are basically asking them to predict how they will behave in the future. And you know, sometimes people might say that they have the intention, but when you measure actual behavior, this will not be a perfect fit. So I would say that this theory fits very well if you want to predict intention, and if you have the opportunity to collect data in time. So if you, for instance, can collect data now with a business or farmers, and in 1 year from now, you go to the same farmers or you go to the same people and act and look if they really do the behavior that they say that they want to do, right? So you have a panel data where you can actually analyze whether the intention that you want to predict fits future behavior. So this is something extremely important in the theory. Sometimes people use past behavior as a predictor of future behavior. So if, for instance, I have adopted many innovations in the past, this means that I'm going to adopt, or there is a higher likelihood that I'm going to adopt more innovations in the future. And then people use this past behavior as a proxy for future behavior. But also, yeah, there is some challenges there is some technical challenges in doing so, in using past behavior to predict future behavior as well.
Great answer. Well, there are several kinds of methods that we can do research, including quantitative and qualitative studies. I'd like to know some things about how is the main methods used if I would like to do a study using this approach.
Okay. Well, first things first. The theory of planned behavior is extremely well developed, and there are many very good papers explaining the steps that you should take if you want to apply the theory of planned behavior. And why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because many people fail well, they say that they are using the theory, but when you look to the papers that they publish, you see that they have not used the theory. So basically what I'm saying here is that if you want to use the theory of planned behavior, take a look at these good papers published even by the creator of the theory, which is Isaac Ashton. And well, there is a website where he explains step by step about what he or what people should do if they want to adopt to use the theory of planned behavior. But in general, the theory of planned behavior, there are, I would say, 3 main steps. The first step is that you have to define the behavior under study very well, right? You really need to understand what you are going to look. You cannot say, well, I'm going to look to innovation, for instance. I'm going to look what is the probability that this businessman will adopt innovation. Well, this is not well defined. This is too broad. You need to say, okay, I'm going to look how is the probability, or what is the intention of this businessman to adopt this practice. Choose a practice that you are interested, and then in the next, define a time period, define that you're going to say this in the next 1 year, and saying in which context. For instance, in your current company, for instance. So once you define the behavior very well in terms of time, context, and also action, then you are ready to move to the next step. And the next step is to conduct a qualitative interview with people that represent the population that you are studying. So if you are studying, let's say, businessmen in Porto Alegre, so basically you are going to interview this businessman. It should not be a large number. So it's more to have idea about the advantage or disadvantage that this businessman predict in adopting that innovation that you are studying. So you ask them about the advantage and the disadvantage. You ask how many people, who of their social network are likely to support them in their decisions to adopt or not. And you are also going to ask them about what factors would facilitate or actually make difficult for them to adopt that innovation. So basically you have an interview with six questions: advantage, disadvantage, who support, who doesn't support, and what are the factors that facilitate and what are the factors that make it difficult. And then you conduct this interview, and this interview are then, well, the results of this interview actually are then used to build the survey or the questions for the survey that you are going to use in the 3rd step. So in the 3rd step, you go to the field, and then you go to a representative sample of this businessman, and then you apply a survey with them. And basically, this survey is quantitative, and it's based on Likert type scale. And then then basically you are ready. Once you collect this information, you are ready to analyze the data. And then, well, for analysis, I would say that it's much better to use structural equation modeling for the kind of data that you are going to get, because usually it's not non-normal data, and well, structural equation modeling, especially via PLSM, it's it's a suitable approach for that. So basically, that's in general the approach, well, the steps that you should use. But again, Christian, this is not to say that you should not read carefully the papers of Eisen, because there you will see step by step in much more detail how you should build each step of the applications of the theory of planned behavior. But don't forget, define your behavior very well at the beginning, because if you do not define your behavior very well at the beginning, then, well, you are not going to get good results. I can assure that.
We do not forget this important tip. Among the sample, you say that it's important a representative sample size. But if I have not a representative sample, I can use this approach.
You mean for the qualitative step or for the quantitative step? For the qualitative steps, it's not really a necessity that you have a representative approach. But, well, for structural equation modeling, for instance, you cannot apply structural equation modeling with a very small sample size, right? So this starts to bring you problems if you want to apply the theory of planned behavior. And when I say representative, well, then people can ask me, well, what exactly do you mean by representative? Representative in terms of what? In terms of age, in terms of level of education, in terms of, well, gender, in terms of what? Well, then my answer for this is it matters what matters for your research. So if you think that the education level is important in your research, then you need to have a sample or participants that represent people with a low education level or middle education level and high education level. So when I say representative, it's much more related to your study than like a guide. You say, you know, well, you are going to follow this, because it's not always the same. Because you say, oh okay, because this is something that I usually like to discuss with people that say, okay, your sample is not representative. Representative in terms of what? Because all of them are human, so they are all human. So they are representative of the human species. So, well, representative in terms of what? In terms of age, in terms of sample size, or sorry, in terms of age, in terms of income, in terms of level of education. When you say, because, you know, in the academia, people start, well, they listen someone saying that is not representative, and then people go to the committees when they evaluate PhD students, and you say, oh, no, this is not representative. But they don't understand what representativeness means here. So when I'm saying representative, I'm saying something that represents what is important for your research in your, I'm not saying like a guide that you should always use. But it's important, Christian, that this is, well, because this is also important, that even if you think this should be random, right? So you should not go exactly to, I know that this is hard, but you know, you cannot only go for those businessmen who are more likely to adopt the innovation, because then, yeah, you cannot really, how do you say this? You cannot really expand the results for the whole population, because you just interview people who are very eager to adopt. So be careful with that.
Okay, I agree with it. And well, we have in some time. We have also a question from YouTube. Let me see. Well, Professor João, can you tell us more about your most recent research and what are you working on?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so my current research, I'm going to make some advertisement here. I have published the new one. I have published a paper with Eisen itself, and he's the creator of the theory of planned behavior. This is basically my most recent paper. It's published in a very, very high, good journal. I mean, it's not It's not in the field of adoption of innovations, but is in the Journal of Agriculture Economics. And basically, it's a review paper that we look to all papers that have used the theory of planned behavior to understand farmers' behavior. Well, this is, I would say, my most recent output. But what I'm currently working on, and it's not published yet, but I'm currently working on adoption of or consumer behavior on organic food. So this is something that it's under review. I applied the theory of planned behavior to understand future behavior of people regarding organic food. I have also been involved to understand some conservation practices in different countries here in Europe. So we are collecting data with a lot of farmers in different countries here in Europe to understand their intention and their behavior to adopt these conservation practices. This is a project that involves a lot of different institutions, so universities from Italy, universities sometimes also I think from Germany. So it's a group of researchers. With my students in Brazil, I have also been working with people's intention and behavior regarding some innovative products like lab meat. You know, I know that this is a very controversial term, lab meat. So we are working with that. We are also working, let me think, that's one that I'm very excited about. We're going to understand, or I'm involved in a project, actually, is my PhD student, and we are going to understand what influence relatives like father and mother, what influenced them on their decisions to provide unhealthy food to their children. So basically, we are going to collect data with some regions that are not well developed, like poor regions, and we are basically trying to encourage them to adopt some kind of practices that would improve what the children eat. So this is something that I'm involved with. Specifically with the theory of planned behavior, I'm involved with this organic project, with this conservation project. And I think that's what I'm involved right now. Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, great. While there are several studies in agribusiness journals on this subject, and you are author of several of them, I'd like to say there are several papers that use this approach in poorly management journals. I'd like to cite, for instance, and the technological forecast and social change in tech innovation, Journal of Business Management, Small Journal Management, among others.
Yeah.
Thus, this approach is used by several kinds of fields, several kinds of research, including most psychological, economics, researches in management field, among others. We have one question in YouTube chat. The question is, Professor, do you think there are differences in this field? I think that is regarding this approach in Brazil and in the Netherlands.
Well, I would say it should not have, right? Because the theory could be applied everywhere if you follow the rules. So if you follow the guidelines, the theory can be applied in Brazil, in the Netherlands, and elsewhere without any problems. But you know, sometimes what I see, perhaps I'm a little bit biased here because I really look most for the farmers, for farmers' behavior, so I don't look too much into other fields. But what I see is that in Brazil, people working with the theory of planned behavior with farmers, most of them actually are not following the guidelines. So they are not actually applying the theory of planned behavior. They suppose, or they pretend to be applying this, but they are not. So I would not say that in general there are some characteristics. Well, so it could not be applied, but yeah, I would say that here in the Netherlands, especially for farmers' behavior, people are much more careful in developing the questionnaires and these kind of things, which makes them, of course, them more much more. There is a higher probability that the people will actually cite them and use their studies, because basically they are doing what we are supposed to do. Christian, may I just show any slide about this that you have just said about the journals?
Of course.
So I prepare. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's okay here.
Okay. So here I just took a print screen for. I just use the words theory of plant behavior in Scopus, and it returns 33,510 citations in the Scopus, and this is just about one paper. Look, it's not about all the papers that Eisen wrote. This is just about one paper.
Only
just
one.
To give you only one paper. This is just one paper, and a lot of things. Usually, or sometimes they use the theory of plant behavior and they not cite this paper. So this is, of course, the most important one, but just one paper is cited 33,000 times, right, in Scopus. And as I also look very quickly here, and I restrict my searching for management studies. And well, for management journals, not for management studies. And there are 2,400 studies that publish somehow related to the theory of plant behavior just in business. And you said about these journals, right, Christian, about the tech innovation and technological forecasting and social change. And I'm just here showing two examples. And these both were published this year, so it's not all papers. And these were, the first one was published in Tech Innovation, and the other was published in Technological Forecasting and Social Change. And this paper that was published in Technological Forecasting and Social Change, this is a standard application of the theory of plant behavior. So this is very well developed. The other one is somehow related to the theory of plant behavior, but it's not in the core of the theory. But of course, they use the theory of plant behavior. If you look to the citations that they have or the reference that they use, you are going to see that Eisen is there and so forth. But here is just to give you an idea, or perhaps can give you some encouragement to use the theory of plant behavior in your own studies.
I'd like to say these both journals you have presented early are important, very, very important journals for people that are studying innovation things in management postgraduate programs. Tech innovation, technological forecasting, and social change in the last few years have been publishing frontiers studies. Thank you for sharing this information.
Yeah, and this is just example, Christians. If you look to this, you are going to find many more, because I did this very quickly. I just type in the Science Direct, I just type the theory of plant behavior in the journal, and it appears a lot of papers. So I just took the ones that are more recently published, just to give you an idea of how important is this theory for the field of adoption of innovation.
Great, great. Well, can you tell some things about this picture?
Okay, so this is the one that we spoke before. So this is the standard framework of the theory of planned behavior. So the intention to perform the behavior is predicted by attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavior control. So what is the meaning of attitude? Attitude is how you like the behavior. So, for instance, if you are studying let's say about my thesis, I was studying about improved natural grassland. So, how much farmers like improved natural grassland? So, this is related to attitude. So, subjective norms is related to how much social pressure farmers think that they face when they think about adopting an innovation. So here I was investigating, for instance, if family members or if government, if rural extension, they were actually pressuring farmers to adopt this innovation. And perceived behavioral control related to the perceived capability to perform the behavior. So imagine that you think, okay, I like the behavior. I mean, I want to adopt because I think it's well profitable for my farm. I also feel social pressure because my family support me in the adoption of this innovation, but I don't have the resources. For instance, I don't have I don't have money, I don't have the machinery, I don't have capability, I don't have knowledge. Then this is related to perceived behavioral control. So there are these three standard constructs related to the intention or predict the intention to perform the behavior. And all of them are based on beliefs. So attitude is based on behavioral beliefs, subjective norms on normative beliefs, and perceived behavioral control on control beliefs. There are a lot of applications now to understand these beliefs behind attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control. And why this is important? Because this is actually, the beliefs are actually the foundation of what people think. So if people think that they have a good or a positive attitude towards the behavior, people want to understand why they have this. And why they have this is, well, if you investigate the behavioral beliefs, then you are going to understand why. And you might wonder why is, well, and what are the characteristics of the farmer? So where is age, where is gender, where is income, where is educational level? All these variables are called in the TPB background variables. And these variables are supposed to influence intention through attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control. So in my figure, if you want to add this kind of socio-demographic characteristics, you can add them right before behavior beliefs, normative beliefs, and control beliefs. And then check if, for instance, age impact on behavioral beliefs, if age impact on normative beliefs, and so forth. So this is quantitative. And the other thing about the theory of planned behavior is that you can add, in principle, it's open to the inclusion of other constructs. So if you are working, for instance, with the intention to adopt an innovation, and you think that, let me think, that the personality is important. So if people are innovativeness, well, people then might have additional or higher probability to adopt intention. Then you can add personality as another construct influence intention. So it's open to the inclusion of other constructs, this theory. So this is the standard application of the TPB. If you look to this paper that I just presented before, you are going to see a very similar framework presented on their paper.
Well, this framework is very famous for researchers. They are understand behavior economics, decision making, among others kinds of constructs related to people behaviors. Mm-hmm. And you say some things about new constructs. For instance, extension. I can do an extension including one more construct and make, for instance, our framework on TPB including a new construct. What do you think? I would like to know something a little bit more about what you think about when I include a new construct. For instance, there are attitudes, subjective norms, and perceived behavior control. If I would like to include more one.
Yeah. Okay, there are a lot of people that use additional constructs to predict intention. And if you look to the theory, you are going to see that they, the authors or the creators of the theory, they say, yeah, well, it's possible to add additional constructs to predict intention. But when you add additional constructs to predict intention, the first thing is that you need to control for the amount of variance that is explained by these additional constructs on intention. So, for instance, if you you apply your survey and you see that attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavior control explain, I don't know, 60% of the variance on intention, which is a normal fit for our study, 60% of the variance. And then you add a new additional constructs, and this is significant it's a new construct and it has a significant impact on intention, but instead of explaining 60% of the variance, explain 62% of the variance. So basically, you know, you are adding an additional construct that explains 2% of the variance on intention. This actually is not explaining nothing, right? It's not explaining, it's explaining too little to be added as additional construct. So if you want to add an additional construct to your model, to your TPB model, what I propose or what I suggest you to do is that you compare the standard model with the additional model to see how good is the fit of the additional model compared to the standard model. And this is actually a critique that we make in our paper published in the Journal of Agricultural Economics. And because people usually don't do that. In fact, I didn't do that. I didn't do. Sometimes I added additional constructs, and I just checked how if the construct was significant or not, and then I forgot about the additional variance explained. And this is a common mistake.
It is like a new construct for nothing. Just exactly. 2% is nothing. How would you say? Well, I have just one question, and this question is about what you think about the biggest challenges and opportunities for studies on this subject in the next years.
Okay, well, as I said, this is a very well, it's a consolidated framework. So, for instance, if you want to publish your research in very good journals, you have a framework like the TPB behind. It gives you, and if you apply it correctly, it gives you some, it's not a guarantee, but it increases the probability that you will publish your research in a very good journal, right? But I have to admit that a lot of people are saying now that, well, you know, there are so many studies on the theory of planned behavior. Why do I need an additional study using the theory of planned behavior? So how I see the future of the theory of planned behavior? I see the future of theory of planned behavior related to developing of interventions based on the theory. So, for instance, you are doing your PhD and you decide, okay, I'm going to use the theory of planned behavior because I'm interested in understanding the intention of businessmen in Porto Alegre to adopt this innovation. That's good. So you are going to understand their intentions, but based on their intentions, you are going to develop an intervention. Right, you are going to develop like a course to, I don't know, you're going to think about something that increases or encourage them to adopt this innovation. And then you are going to check how much of this intervention actually lead to businessmen adopting this innovation. I know this is not easy. This is a project that requires a lot of effort to do, but this is how I see the future of planned behavior. And the main challenges that I see in standard applications is in data collection. So because this questionnaire is quite extensive, so people usually complain a bit to fill in the questionnaire. Also, you might wonder to think about social desirability. So sometimes people answer the questionnaire because in a way that they expect you to think about them. So you have to be very careful with social desirability as well. Well, but in general, I would say that it gives you or it provides you with a very solid framework to conduct research in adoption of innovation. I would say that is one of the most solid frameworks to understand that, if you are working with adoption of innovation.
Great. Well, Professor João, I have no words to acknowledge your time to talk with us today. Thank you so much. I'd like to know if you have some final message for the research that you'd like to use this approach in your further researches, or for all people that are interested in understanding a little bit more about this theory.
Okay, well, first, thank you, Christian, again for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. You know, I'm very open to give these talks. I'm also very open. If you wanted to send me an email, I'm just going to share here. I have my emails in my final slide. So if you want to share, or if you wanted to ask something specific, I mean, if some PhD students want to ask, just send me an email. I answer everybody. Usually, I also answer in Instagram or WhatsApp. But nowadays, you know, it's a lot of messages, so it's hard for me to to catch up with everything. But as a final message, I would say, first of all, decide very well your research problem. I mean, you cannot define your tools before you decide what is the war that you are going to fight. Because, you know, I'm going to use the theory of planned behavior. I want to use the theory of planned behavior. Well, that's not correct. I mean, use this for what? This fits with your research problem or not. So if, for instance, you have a research problem related to adoption of innovation, and you know this innovation is not widely adopted in the region, or is not widely adopted by the ones that you expect to adopt, well, then it fits. So once you have a perfect fit with your research problem and with the theory, then don't forget, as I said, to look to the guidelines of how to correctly apply the theory of planned behavior. In our review studies, we actually found that out of 123 papers, I would say that was 1/3 of these papers actually conducted research following the guidelines. And this has huge implications for the results, because sometimes it impacts on the size of the correlation, on the significance of the correlation, on a lot of things that you are going to, or a lot of problems that you're going to face in the future. So as a final message, I would like first to say that, well, make a perfect fit with your research problem and the theory, and then, well, follow the guidelines of how to correctly apply the theory of planned behavior.
Great. Okay. Again, thank you so much. And I'd like to thank all people that were watching us at YouTube. And we see you soon. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, Professor, too.
Thank you very much, guys. See you.